romancha kampasru taranga bhajo. Romancha means when one is absorbed in Nama Sankirtana, he can feel the joys of Sankirtan by shivering of the body. The body shivers, a flow of love reflects in the shivering of the body with the joys of happiness. You may not get this kind of happiness in any kind of other material happiness by directly pleasing your senses, by supplying the sense objects any amount of happiness we run after by matter of feeding the senses with food or supplying the senses with the requirements such as uh, when we feel cold we may supply heat, when we feel heat we may supply cold, or we may take care of this body with lots of prasadhana. Prasadhana means cosmetics. But whatever the outfit we may do, whatever supply of so-called material enjoyment we give, our inner happiness do not develop. This romancha cannot be filled by so-called arrangement of sense objects to fulfill the inner quest or inner quench of happiness, which can only be derived by Nama Sankirtana. Romancha, Kampha, and Asru. The hairs stand, just like when you move some charged particle, then your hair will stand. So when your body is surcharged with the devotion, the hair also stands and continuous tear will flow. So this kind of feeling of love of Godhead is very important, and a devotee should continuously enjoy this kind of happiness in Nam Sankirtan that will gradually lead the devotee become detestful in material sense enjoyment. No matter how much enjoyment we supply to the senses, senses are always very impudent. It will be attracted towards this material object. But when you involve yourself in the service of the God, continuous engagement in the services of Supreme Personality of Godhead, gradually attract your mind. Savahi mana Krishna Padara Vinde. Your mind will be fully attracted towards the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once the mind is fully attracted towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you will have full engagement in the service of the Lord, such as during Rath Yatra festival, all of you engaged yourselves in the service of Rath Yatra. So you are so absorbed in the thought of God, how thought of Jagannath, how you can serve him nicely, how you can decorate the temple, how you can decorate the chariot, how you can perform various services assigned. So then your mind itself is so engaged that you can sit a long hour. You can even not being worried about your stomach whether you have food or not. So lots of you know absorbment in the services of the Lord automatically make you forgetful about the supply of sense objects. So even though guna gunesu vartante, even though sense objects are attracted to a senses are attracted towards sense objects, but when the same senses are attracted to the lotus feet of Lord Hari, then it no longer hanker after the sense objects. So that is the science that if one is interested to cultivate Krishna consciousness and free from this lusty desire, he need to engage himself continuously in the service of the Lord. Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam rudrogam asav apo hinoti achirena dhira. Bhaktim param bhagavati, when one is completely engaged to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param Bhagavati, Supreme Personality of Godhead's service, Pratilabhya Kaman, means freed from this desire of sense enjoyment. Rudrogam asa apahanyati. Asa means immediately. Rudrogam means the desire of the heart. Apahanati means got cured. Achirena dhira, very quickly. mm, Achirena. And dhira means for a sober person who want to be in peaceful state. So then the secrets of that is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33.39 sloka is that one should engage himself in the service of the Lord. When one is engaged in the thought of Lord Jagannath, especially during Rath Yatra, you are completely engaged in the thought of the Lord, so there was no time to think about anything else. Automatically, the detachment develops in you. Otherwise, when somebody is trying to only get such enjoyment that comes from direct contact of senses, such as lusty desire, no matter how much or how long he engages in such affairs of sense enjoyment, he will never be satisfied. Just like you put any amount of ghee uh, in fire, and the fire will not extinguish, rather it will be continue to be more blazing. So ghee cannot extinguish fire, ghee can only increase the fire. In There are some references also, when you put lots of ghee all together, then there is possibility that um, just like ghee will work like water. When ghee is fully covered over the fire, then fire has to extinguish. So sometimes when the low grade of you know people who have no options like Javanese natures, when they are so much engrossed in sense enjoyment and no clue for self realizations, so they might be allowed to do these contaminated activities. And when they come to realize that there is no happiness in this, they got satiated, and they can find some alternative to come out of these things. But for a sober person who is practicing Krishna consciousness, who want to get the success in devotional life and want to get the eternal happiness, he should regularly serve Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he should chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When he is so absorbed in the chanting of the holy name and enjoys the spiritual happiness such as Romanchakam Pasru, Taranga Bhajo, then the contaminations of this material world, especially lusty desire for illicit sex, meat eating, intoxications, gambling, all this will easily go away. A devotee, especially who is practicing Krishna consciousness, giving up meat eating, intoxication, and gambling is easy. Then the fourth rule, like illicit sex, becomes a difficult subject, even though it may be easy for him to not attracted towards other women, but he also need to advances further by regulating the association with one wife, regulated by the scriptural guidance. And this regulations helps him or her to find that Krishna is the only objective of happiness. Any other enjoyment of lusty desire is not a happiness, but increases the hankering or craving to get an alternative of devotional service. When we choose alternative, then the importance to devotional service got reduced. So this is vice versa or inversely proportional. When one is reducing lusty desire and give so gradually giving higher importance to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where he enjoys more sukha, then gradually he becomes detestful. Raso varja raso api paradushta nivartante. And he need to keep a very strong vows and determinations to follow the regulative principles, even though he can very easily get freed from the other three rules, such as meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Even neophytes very easily come out of that. The fourth principles of illicit sex desire is very difficult to give up when, especially, a person sees that the other men and women are engaged in such affairs of sexual desires or sexual involvement. Even a brahmana can fall down from the vows or determinations to maintain brahmacharya. So that is possible in this material world when the women are not very much well dressed and roaming in the streets. So it is possible that one may get agitated by lusty desires upon seeing a woman. So those desire increases more and more, gradually lead to fall down, as explained in Srimad Bhagavata, Dhyayat Vishan Pusa Sangaste Supajayate. Sangat Sanjayat Kama. Kamat Krodha Vijayate. Krodhat Bhavati Samoha. So like that, one fall down further by contemplating or by seeing women further contemplating on them and gradually lead to buddhinasa and pranasati. Pranasati means fall down. So it is advised that one may not be very much interested toward the attractions of women, not to see the women, especially the bodily attractions of the women. One should not see in the vision of uh, enjoying the beauty of woman, and not from internet, not from directly seeing women in the street with that vision of seeing their attractive bodily feature, which causes these contemplations. If one can free himself from this contemplation of the thought of woman, then he can gradually elevate himself. Pumsa yam samsruter hetur asantosha artha kamaya ho yada yadruchaya upapannena santosha mukteya smritaha. The very reason is that man is not satisfied by what is being available to him by the destiny, then he is not fit for liberation. His hankering is after matter existence. So one after other desires close to him. Out of these desires, that association with woman is the topmost. So lusty desire is the greatest problem. So to get more involvement, he try to earn more and more money. By that, he want to continue the material desire. But the fact is that no matter how much money one may earn, finally he will not be able to fulfill or satisfy the lusty desire. Whatever not whatever amount of money he may earn, all the possibility that this money will be stolen or spent by women and can never give him happiness. So that one need to stop this blazing fire by putting water into it, not butter. So like that is the common goal in all the living entity, that they earn more so that they will able to get the material happiness by paying for it. But the satiation on this lusty desire is very important. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that one has to elevate himself from this state of enviousness even to his enemy, when one do not expect any honor from anybody, rather he gives respect to everybody. He desires sincerely that well-being of even if his enemy is not inimical, like Dhruva Maharaj is exemplary character. Even though Suruchi is the cause of all the trouble for him, but he was all, all respectful to her mother, Suruchi, stepmother Suruchi, and he desires all well-being of her mother. So it is to be understood that such a devotee is Paramahansa like Dhruva Maharaj. They will never be subdued by love, lusty desire. Prime importance for such devotee is to please Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahatva Prema. When one has given highest importance to love of Godhead, then Kama Gauna. Gauna means the lowest priority. To give lowest priority to the bodily desires or bodily needs, when one give higher priority to the service of the Lord, gradually this body priorities are reduced. Because the body is getting a higher taste, it automatically uh, reduces the lower taste. So the taste in mind can, the taste in heart, like mana buddhi and self identifications, self realized devotee releases pleasure from the soul, from the sense of self realization, so his mind become satisfied, and so the body is not hankering after, even though the same body was looking after so many bodily happiness is now controlled. Such a person is having the state of non-dualism, means he neither samalostrasma kanchanam, neither attracted to gold nor see any difference between gold and stones. Similarly, sama satru mitravat, he gives equal respect to his enemy, and he thinks equally good for both of his friends and enemies. Attaining such elevated state is only possible when one is freed from three modes of material nature and continuously placed in sattva guna, which is called Sudha Sattva. One is advised to be always situated in Sudha Sattva guna and engaged in devotional service. Such devotee can become immune to the reactions of three modes of material natures. Otherwise, this is not possible. Prahlad Maharaj explained that one should retire from family life as early as possible, and described that family life is as the darkest well. Hitatma patam gruham andhakupam. So, in order to practice such culture of life, which is living for the dedications of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the betterment of spreading the culture of Krishna consciousness among the people, one may have to engage his times in the service of the Lord, even being grihastha. If one is thinking to become vanaprastha, so it is advised that he practice being a grihastha also, at least maybe a week or so, maybe a week or two, he can live in ashram life, can go for preaching services, need not to be fully present in home all these 30 days. Maybe some 7 to 10 days he may spend in preaching Krishna consciousness. So, like that, he will be practiced gradually in Vanaprastha system, and in some favorable time, he can go to the ashram life fully and live Vanaprastha. If one is continuing this Grihastha life, being in family, even after years attained of 50-year-old, then it is to be understood that he is trapped by family life. So that way, he cannot do any good for himself. Lusty desire by its nature, as explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.20, Hrita Gyanaha, Hruta Gyanaha, Kamas Tais Tair Hruta Gyanaha. Those person whose intelligence are stolen by material desires. So they cannot become freed from such attachments and always engrossed in such kind of feelings of material sense enjoyment have no scope to think about Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though such people whose knowledge are stolen by the lusty desire can fall into the trap of any amount of sinful reactions. When one is too attached to sense gratification, he loses his true control over the senses and knowledge will not come at work. Karma Kandya Yajna. There are lots of processes explained in scripture to do this, to do that, you will get this merits. So that is the regular practices of the religious mentality people, even though they do many kind of sacrifices, yajna, uh, pose themselves to be pious, but the intention behind this karma kandi yajna is to get some material benefits, so that these persons, even though they appear to be religious and appear to be performing religious activities, yet cannot be freed from the lusty desires, because their intelligence is still stolen by kama. Even though so-called religiosity is not going to help them. So karma kandiya vidhi need also to be given up. One has to work full time for the pleasure of Vishnu Priti. Yajna, which is especially in this age of Kali, is Sankirtana Yajna. Yajna Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Sumedhasa. If one is really interested to go beyond these attractions of sense enjoyments and to fulfill the love of Godhead by practicing more and more devotional services, he can get the sublime path of devotional service, feel the joys of Sankirtan through Romanchakam Pasataranga Bhajo, and finally attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any question?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
No question?
Prabhuji, we'll read Prabhupada's quote, Prabhuji, if no questions.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, July 13th, the quote by Prabhupada.